Today is day 4 of you learning how to produce. Hi, I'm Sides. Producing music has changed my life and my career, and I want to help you do the same. This isn't going to cost you any money. You have all the tools you need to get started. On day 1, we talked about why you should start to learn how to produce. On day 2, I showed you how to navigate your DAW. On day 3, I showed you how to lay down drums. And today, on day 4, I'm going to show you how to lay down the chords. Let's jump into Logic Pro. You should already have the drums laid down for your 8-bar loop. This is mine. Don't worry if you're not super happy with your drum groove right now. We can always add things and take things away as we go on. Now we're going to talk about the chords. I recommend you picking 2 to 4 chords for your entire 8-bar loop. You don't need to know how to play piano in order to do this. Of course, if you do know how to play the piano or guitar, that helps, but no worries if you don't. I'm going to show you lots of different ways that you can add the chords in Logic Pro, and then you could decide which is best for you. You can do this and be an amazing producer without playing any instruments. The first way I do want to show you, though, is if you do know how to play the chords, this is how you can record them in. The first thing I'm going to do is create a new software instrument track. All you have to do is right-click here and do New Software Instrument Track. Now you can pick a piano, a guitar, pads, synthesizer, whatever you want to use. I'm actually going to pull up Alchemy, go to Alchemy, and I'm going to pick keys here. And I'm going to go with the 80s pop electric piano. You can pick whichever sound you want, but if you like the sound, go ahead. Use the 80s pop electric piano. Now I'm going to mess around with a couple of chords first, and then I'll record them in. Okay, so now I'm just going to press record and just record something in. Now you can just press Q to quantize and Command R to repeat, and voila, you have some chords in. Another way you can add chords if you don't know how to play piano is using Chord Trigger. Chord Trigger is amazing. Let me show you how to do it. So all I'm going to do is go over to MIDI effects, and I'm going to select Chord Trigger. So now, when I play a note on my MIDI keyboard, it will play out a full chord for me. And the cool part is, if you add this button, record to MIDI track here, it will record out the full chord for you here. Let me show you. So if I turn this off and I record something in, it only records one note. But we want the entire information of the full chord. So I'm going to go back here, select Record MIDI to track here, and now watch what happens when I record it in. I snuck in an extra chord there. But you can see now the full chord is written out in MIDI, which will be super helpful for us later. Another cool thing that you can do in the Chord Trigger is there are a bunch of presets that you can try. You can try having extended harmonies, so dominant 7s, major 7s, minor 7s. Don't worry about if you don't know what this means or how this is meant to sound. Just trust your ears. If you like it, it works. But remember, only pick 2 to 4 chords. Let's try this one. If I was happy with that, I would just press Q to quantize and then Command R to repeat it. Another thing you can do to build your own chords is you can draw them in. So I can press P to open up the piano roll, and now I can either hold down Command and use the pencil here, or I can turn my main click tool to the pencil tool. So now you don't have to overthink this, but you can just draw it in by clicking on one note and then count up 3. 1, 2, 3. Or you can count up 4. So it'll sound like that or that. So if you want major or minor. So then you count up another 3 or 4. So mess around with counting up 3 or 4 and use your ears and trust them. So let's say I go to this next one and now I'm going to move it here. And see, I really like those chords. So now I can just move back to my pointer tool and then just hold down Option and drag them to copy and paste. Oops. Let's drag them out a little further. And you can mess around with these rhythms by holding down Option again and then just placing them where you think they might sound cool. Maybe I'll move this here. So you can have fun with that. So just to recap, draw them in by counting either 3 or 4 semitones and trust your ear. I want to show you another cool way to add in chords. If you go to Apple Loops and then click this button, you can select just MIDI loops. Now I can click here and put in, let's say, piano. Listen to a few. Okay, great. So I can just drag these in here. And now they have already a MIDI chord progression in Logic that I can use and manipulate to make it my own. So you can go through here and you can delete notes. You can add notes by drawing it in, which I showed you before, but let's say I want to add some more. You can change the instrument sound. So let's say I go to Alchemy and I turn this into keys. Let's go with this one. You can break up the rhythm. I'm just holding down Option and dragging to copy and paste the chord over here. So that's another really cool way for you to build up your chord progressions without having to play any instruments. And the last way I'm going to show you in this video that you can add chords to your 8-bar loop is using my free MIDI pack. I actually created 50 MIDI chord progressions that you can use. They are totally free. You can download it in my description. So let me show you an example. This is what it would look like on your computer. All you have to do is pick one and then just drag it into your project. If you get something like this, you could say no. And here is the chord progression. And you can do the same thing that you did with the Apple Loops, and you can manipulate these notes. You can make them shorter. You can change up the rhythm. Or you can change up the pitch entirely if you want to. Let's say I want to raise this a couple semitones. All I'm going to do is hold down Option and change the key. Once you're happy with your chord progressions, I recommend layering those chords a few times. So for instance, I'm going to create a new software track. I'm going to find a synthesizer. I'm going to pick a pad. Let's go with this one. I'm going to press Option and keep my finger on Option while I click on this region and drag it down, which will copy and paste it for me. So basically what we're doing is we're filling up the sonic spectrum by picking different sounds in different tonalities to make the sounds more full. Another little trick you can do is you can actually copy and paste this exact sound and this exact region by holding down Option over here and dragging, and now it's going to copy not only the instrument but also the chord progression. And you can press Shift Option arrow key up to raise it an octave. Then you can pan these left and right to fill up the sound. Now listen. Now that may or may not sound good. This instrument actually doesn't sound good in that octave, so I would find a different instrument. Let's see, a guitar. That sounds pretty good. On day 6, I'm going to show you how to make the sound even more full with building up counter melodies, soundscapes, and much more, so stick around for that. Your task for today is to lay down the chords for your 8-bar loop. Remember, less is more, so I recommend picking 2 to 4 chords for your entire loop. You can also layer those chords with different sounds. You can use a piano, you can use a synth, you can use guitar, and you can use pads. On day 5, I'm going to show you how to lay down the bass. See you there! Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you like, you can download the free MIDI chord pack, which is linked in my description. See you on day 5.